President Biden seems to be getting his hands dirty and signaling to his Department of Justice that they better think twice before going after his son, Hunter.
Sir, there is something personal that's affecting you. Your son, while there's no ties to you, could be charged by your Department of Justice. How will that impact your presidency?
First of all, my son's done nothing wrong. I trust him. I have faith in him. And it impacts my presidency by making me feel proud of him.
Biden's warning shot comes as the White House preps for the fallout of a potential Hunter Biden indictment. Politico reporting this. People close to the president still worry about the personal toll it'll take. How long can he compartmentalize personal anger with the attacks on Hunter and the political calculation that he's better off not responding to it? The U.S. attorney investigating Hunter is reportedly close to deciding on whether to bring charges. But top House Republican James Comer is asking the prosecutor to hold off.
My message to the Department of Justice is very loud and clear. Do not indict Hunter Biden before Wednesday, when you have the opportunity to see the evidence that the House Oversight Committee will produce. This is not just about the president's son. This is about the entire Biden family. What they're looking at charging Hunter Biden on is a slap on the wrist. It's a drop in the bucket. So Wednesday will be a very big day for the American people in getting the facts presented to them.
Dana, how did you think that question was posed to the president?
I didn't like the way the question was posed. I also think that, so remember last week we were talking about how Biden doesn't do any interviews, right? And so the White House was like, quick, let's do an interview with MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle, and we'll bury it on a Friday night when nobody will notice it. And the only thing it makes news on is Hunter. And part of the reason is every time we have the Hunter clip, you see the full question. And the American people get it. I don't like saying the American people. Viewers that saw it would understand what she did is led the witness, right? I'm pretty good at leading the witness, right? So you like try to get she's basically signaling, I know that you have nothing to do with anything that went wrong with your son.
Right.
But so I'm just going to set that up and give you that out before you even have to say it yourself, and then just tee you up with a nice ball that you could hit.
It's like, I know Greg doesn't put lifts in his shoes, but you do really have a very strong stature.
I don't even know what I'm doing here anymore. But Joe's pretty sneaky too, right? He says Hunter's done nothing wrong. He pulled that amazing trick of having you think past the story to a conclusion that it's just Hunter we're worried about, not the big man. It's like, let's say I make a crude analogy that gets me in trouble on the 5, and I'm at HR, and I go, look, Jesse's done nothing wrong. I can't stress that enough. Harold, in rare fashion, made a great point. I had to go far back, like a year, to find it. But you suggested that Hunter and Joe could have gone headfirst into the fentanyl scourge because, as a former addict, he knows the turf. I think it was you.
No, I didn't say that.
I think it was me.
Oh, was it you? Okay, Jesse, it was amazing.
Thank you.
Consistent with that do nothing right.
But it could have saved Hunter if he had actually done that, because as a businessman, he probably could have made a headway into finding out who the players are if he doesn't take all the drugs. Now, however, that could be RFK Jr., also a prodigal son, who partied more than a Led Zeppelin tour bus. If he turns his past into a plus and fights the fentanyl war, he could get a lot of votes, including mine.
Do you have any points to make on this?
Yeah, Harold.
So first off, I think there's nothing wrong with the president saying he thinks his son has done nothing wrong. There's a presumption of innocence in our system. I've been on this show and others saying that President Trump is innocent in any of these matters until the matters that are before the court, unless proven otherwise, as every American is given that gift. 2, I thought Mr. Comer, if he's going to say, or some are going to say, that the president was out of line, then he was out of line. Congress appropriates, meaning that Congress sets the budget and then appropriates the money for these federal agencies. So if he's telling this agency not to do its job, I think that's wrong. Now, I take it it's not lost to me, the political advantage that Mr. Comer is trying to gain there. But if they have information, they should give it to the Justice Department. That's what the Justice Department does, not his committee in terms of bringing charges. This story has exhausted me. I've been confounded as to why it has taken almost 5 years, if not right at 5 years, for a U.S. attorney, and it seems like there might be a special counsel in the Justice Department also looking at Hunter. If he's done something wrong, let's get on with it. Let's make the charges and let him confront those charges. And it appears from what his father said, the president, is that he's going to plead innocent to these charges, or that the young man has done nothing wrong. But whatever the case, the country doesn't deserve to have to go through all this. If he's done something wrong, present the case and let's move on.
Judge, you might have a different opinion about that.
I got to tell you, I just can't believe that, look, the presumption of innocence applies to a defendant in a criminal court, in the court of public opinion. Prosecutors who have evidence, who have seen the evidence, don't put their head in the sand and say, oh, he's innocent, and then bring him to court because they think he's innocent. They bring him to court because they think he's guilty. But having said that, Joe Biden knows, just like everyone else, that he lied on that pistol permit application. Joe Biden, the man who wants to make sure none of us have guns, thinks it's okay for his son, who was a drug addict, to file a pistol permit application, get a gun, then throw it out in a garbage can near a school. But let's go beyond that. This Comer saying you got to wait for Wednesday, and you're saying, you know what, the truth is that, you know, if they have the evidence, they should go forward with it. They have the evidence. That's why there have been two whistleblowers, one from October of 2022 and one from last month. Whistleblowers who have documents and evidence, because they are not being allowed to come forward and testify, because whenever your boss says, my son is innocent, he is not guilty, you think Merrick Garland is going to say, hey, just, you know, forget about what Joe said, indict the guy. This is a long-standing investigation because of all of the problems and all of the hurdles that they're trying to get over. Joe Biden has lied to us about his son over and over again. He lied when he said he knew nothing about his son's overseas business dealings. And he lied about his son's laptop when he went on a presidential debate to interfere with a presidential election and say 51 intelligence agents say it's Russian disinformation. That White House, or that hopeful White House, orchestrated that letter. So Joe Biden is as much complicit as his son is, especially since he's sharing the money. And let me say one more thing, and I'll hit him on the personal level. And that is, Hunter has a child that he won't recognize, and Joe Biden won't recognize his granddaughter. That's the legacy that both of them are lying about. And I'm finished.
I liked how you didn't keep it personal for that first 2 minutes. That was really good.
Only for the end. Only for the end.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.